The night I stopped paying to be part of my own family. My older brother was standing beneath a banner that said "Gratitude changes everything." He had just raised a glass of bourbon at our mother's Thanksgiving birthday dinner and called me the family's unpaid customer service department. 24 relatives laughed because they thought he was joking. My mother laughed because she knew he was not. My sister-in-law looked at her plate because the mortgage on their house was already 3 months behind, and she believed I was secretly fixing it. My grandmother stopped laughing when she saw me unlock my phone. I opened the account that had covered my brother's rent, truck, utilities, daycare, credit cards, and every emergency he had manufactured for 5 years. Then I canceled the automatic transfers. My brother's phone vibrated before I lowered mine. He read the alert, looked across the candles at me, and lost every bit of color in his face. "What did you do?" he whispered. I picked up my coat and said, "I finally believed you when you said nobody needed me. My name is Amelia Hart." I was 31 years old that Thanksgiving, and I worked as a healthcare compliance investigator in Minneapolis. My job involved reviewing insurance claims, vendor contracts, billing records, and internal reports for a hospital network. I spent my days identifying patterns people hoped would remain invisible. A duplicate invoice disguised as a correction, a consultant paid for work nobody could describe, a medical supplier charging twice because the departments handling payment never spoke to each other. I was paid to notice when ordinary confusion became deliberate. Yet for years, I looked directly at my own family's financial chaos and called it love. My mother's name was Lorraine Hart. She had raised my brother, Caleb, and me in a comfortable suburb west of Minneapolis after our father died from a heart attack when I was 16. Lorraine worked as an office administrator for a dental group, wore tasteful sweaters, volunteered at church, and remembered every relative's birthday. She was not the kind of mother strangers worried about. She did not scream in grocery stores or forget to buy food. She created a family that looked organized, generous, and unusually close. Every Christmas photograph showed matching colors. Every Thanksgiving post mentioned gratitude. Every crisis was handled privately, which usually meant I paid for it while Lorraine explained to everyone else that the family had pulled together. Caleb was 4 years older than me and possessed the kind of confidence people often mistake for competence. He could enter a room late, tell a funny story, and make everyone grateful he had arrived. Teachers called him charismatic. Coaches said he had natural leadership. My mother described him as sensitive beneath the surface, which meant anyone reacting to his behavior was expected to consider the pain that might have caused it. Caleb broke my belongings and said he had been frustrated. Caleb borrowed money and said he had been embarrassed to ask. Caleb forgot promises and said pressure made him scattered. Whenever I objected, Lorraine reminded me that I was more mature. "You have always been the practical one," she said, as though practicality were not a personality but a lifetime assignment. Our father, Daniel, saw the pattern more clearly. He loved Caleb but did not rescue him automatically. When Caleb wrecked his first car while speeding, Dad made him work all summer to cover part of the repair. When Caleb wanted new baseball equipment after quitting the team twice, Dad refused. When I earned a scholarship for a summer science program, Dad drove me 6 hours to attend even though Lorraine said Caleb needed the family car for a weekend tournament. My father did not treat me like a favorite. He treated me like a child whose plans mattered. After he died, that distinction disappeared. The morning after the funeral, relatives filled our kitchen with casseroles, coffee, and soft voices. Caleb was 20, home from community college after withdrawing from 3 classes. I was 16 and still wearing the black dress Lorraine had chosen for me. People hugged Caleb and told him he was the man of the family now. They hugged me and told me to take care of my mother. Those 2 instructions shaped everything that followed. Caleb inherited authority without responsibility. I inherited responsibility without authority. Dad had left a modest life insurance payment, enough to help Lorraine clear several debts and create educational accounts for both children. Caleb used most of his account within 2 years. First tuition, then a used motorcycle, then rent after an argument with roommates, then a business course he never completed. My education account remained untouched because I earned scholarships, worked evenings, and attended a public university close to home. Lorraine praised my independence while repeatedly asking whether I could temporarily move small amounts into the household account. Heating repair, Caleb's phone bill, a church donation she had already promised. None of the requests were enormous. That was how the pattern survived. Exploitation rarely begins with someone demanding your whole future. It begins with $200 and a sentence about how much stronger you are than everyone else. I studied accounting and health administration. After graduation, I accepted an entry-level compliance job at a regional clinic group. The work suited me because facts stayed still long enough to be examined. I learned interview methods, financial review, audit sampling, and how to ask the same question 3 different ways without revealing which answer concerned me. By 27, I had moved into hospital compliance and was earning a stable salary. I rented a 1-bedroom apartment near the light rail line, drove a used Subaru, and kept an emergency fund large enough to cover 6 months of expenses. Lorraine told relatives I was successful because I had never faced the same pressures as Caleb. Caleb had married a woman named Jenna and moved through several jobs: gym membership sales, flooring installation, logistics coordination, solar consulting, and finally account management for a building supply company. Every position ended because someone else had failed to appreciate his potential. Jenna worked as a preschool teacher and carried more of the household than anyone admitted. She was kind, tired, and increasingly careful about what she said in front of Caleb. They had 2 children, Mason and Lily. I loved those children deeply. That love became the most effective tool my family ever used against me. The first major request arrived after Caleb's truck transmission failed. He called me from a repair shop and said he would lose his new job if he could not drive to clients. The repair cost $2,800. I would ask Mom, he said, but she is already worried about property taxes. He knew exactly how to make the request sound like protecting our mother. I paid the shop directly. Caleb promised monthly repayments. He sent $100 twice, then stopped. When I reminded him, he said Mason needed dental work. I let it go. 6 months later, Jenna called crying because their rent was overdue, and an eviction notice had appeared on the door. Caleb had told her his employer's payroll system was delayed. I transferred $1,900 to the landlord. The following week, Caleb posted photographs from a casino hotel in Wisconsin. He said the trip had been planned months earlier, and canceling would have wasted money. I confronted him. He accused me of monitoring his life because I enjoyed feeling superior. Lorraine called an hour later and said, "You helped because you love the children. Do not turn kindness into a weapon." Somehow, asking why he gambled after I paid his rent became the crueler act. I created a separate account the next year, after Caleb's utilities were almost disconnected during a January cold spell. I told myself the account would prevent emergencies from reaching the children. I deposited a fixed amount and arranged payments directly to the utility company, daycare, and landlord. Caleb would send invoices. I would approve only necessities. It sounded controlled. It was not. Every month contained a new emergency. The daycare payment had increased. The truck needed tires. Lily had a field trip. The heating bill was higher. Caleb's work reimbursement had not arrived. Jenna believed I was voluntarily helping while Caleb rebuilt his finances. I believed Jenna knew more than she did. Lorraine knew enough to keep both of us from comparing notes. "Do not embarrass Caleb by discussing details with Jenna," she told me. "A husband should be allowed to handle his own household." I was handling his household. I simply was not allowed to say so. The account became known inside the family as Amelia's backup. Cousins joked that I was the family bank. My mother corrected them by saying I had a generous heart. Caleb called me whenever something broke, but rarely called to ask how I was. At birthdays, he gave me mugs with phrases like "boss lady" and "control freak," then laughed when I did not find them funny. He told relatives my career suited me because I loved investigating people. When I received a promotion, Lorraine congratulated me by saying, Now maybe helping the family will not feel like such a sacrifice. I had not complained about the amount. She was warning me not to begin. The first time I seriously considered stopping was after my 30th birthday. Lorraine hosted dinner at her house. Caleb arrived 2 hours late without a gift because, according to him, family should not measure love through objects. During dinner, he announced he had been approved to purchase a townhouse. Everyone congratulated him. Jenna looked surprised but happy. I asked quietly how they had qualified while still paying old debts. Caleb smiled. You worry too much. 3 days later, he sent me a message saying the lender required proof of additional reserves and asked whether I could temporarily transfer $12,000 into their account. You will get it back after closing, he wrote. I refused. He called me selfish. Lorraine said the townhouse would create stability for the children. Jenna called separately and apologized for the request. Caleb said your father's education fund had grown into a large inheritance and that you had always planned to share it when we bought a home, she said. I went completely still. What inheritance? The account your dad left you. My father's educational account had grown because I had barely touched it. Years earlier, Lorraine helped transfer the remainder into a protected investment account in my name. It was not enormous, but it represented the last financial decision my father made for me. Caleb was not a beneficiary. Jenna believed I had promised part of it. I called Lorraine. Why does Caleb know how much is in Dad's account? Silence. Mom? He saw a statement when I was helping you with tax papers. You opened my mail? You had sent documents to my address. Why did you discuss the balance with him? He felt discouraged. You own your apartment investments and have savings while he struggles. I did not own apartment investments. I owned a modest retirement account and emergency savings. Caleb had transformed every careful choice I made into secret wealth I was hoarding. You handed him a reason to believe my money belonged to him. I gave him hope. Hope for what? That family would not let him fail. I did not transfer the $12,000. Caleb still bought the townhouse through a higher interest loan and a down payment partly provided by Lorraine. Within a year, he began asking me to cover the mortgage. The first request came after he changed jobs. The second followed a medical bill. The third had no explanation beyond rough month. I paid twice because Mason had started school nearby, and Jenna cried when she discussed moving again. The third time, I asked for a full budget. Caleb called me controlling. Lorraine asked whether I enjoyed forcing a grown man to prove his suffering. I nearly stopped then. Nearly became the word that defined the next 2 years. I nearly stopped after discovering he had used the emergency account for a sports betting app. He said it was one mistake. I nearly stopped when Jenna told me she had already paid the utility bill I had also covered. Caleb said the duplicate payment would become a credit. It did not. I nearly stopped when a former coworker contacted me, asking when I planned to repay a loan Caleb had taken while claiming I guaranteed it. Caleb insisted there had been a misunderstanding. I nearly stopped when he borrowed money from our cousin Rebecca, using my name. Lorraine begged me not to expose him, because the children would hear relatives discussing their father. Every time I approached the boundary, someone placed Mason and Lily in front of it. The Thanksgiving dinner that ended everything was also Lorraine's 65th birthday. She had rented the upper floor of a renovated railroad depot in Street Paul. The room had exposed brick, tall windows, polished wood floors, and strings of warm lights. Lorraine selected ivory candles, gold-rimmed plates, and a burgundy banner that read "Gratitude changes everything." She posted photographs throughout the week, describing the event as a celebration of family, resilience, and the blessings we create together. I paid the venue deposit because Lorraine said her pension check had been delayed. She promised repayment after the dinner. Caleb had also sent 3 urgent requests that month. $2,200 for the mortgage, $800 for truck insurance, $900 for an overdue daycare balance. I paid all 3 through the emergency account. The night before Thanksgiving, the bank sent an alert that the account was overdrawn. Caleb had made an unapproved electronic transfer to his personal checking account. The amount was $3,500. I called him. He did not answer. I called Jenna. She said Caleb was attending a work dinner. His company had held no dinner. I checked the transaction location and found it connected to a casino outside Shakopee. I did not sleep. The next morning, Lorraine sent a family message reminding everyone not to bring up stressful subjects during her birthday. Today is about gratitude, she wrote. I replied only, understood. I arrived at the depot early and helped place name cards. My seat was near the far end of the table between two cousins I barely knew. Caleb sat beside Lorraine at the center. Jenna and the children were placed across from him. Lorraine had printed small cards, asking each guest to write something they appreciated about family. Mine said, always having someone strong enough to help. I turned it over. Before dinner, a photographer arranged us beneath the banner. Lorraine placed Caleb on one side and the grandchildren on the other. I stood near the edge. Amelia, move back a little, she said. You are blocking Lily. I moved. The photograph later appeared online with part of my shoulder cut off. Dinner began with speeches. Relatives praised Lorraine's generosity. Caleb told a funny story about her driving through a snowstorm to help him move during college. He did not mention that I had spent the same weekend packing his apartment while he watched a football game. Jenna barely ate. She checked her phone repeatedly. I assumed she was worried about the mortgage. I did not know she believed I had promised to refinance it. When dessert arrived, Lorraine placed a birthday sash across her dress and asked everyone to share gratitude cards. People thanked her for advice, holiday meals, and family traditions. Caleb stood last. He lifted a glass of bourbon and smiled toward me. I am grateful for people who need to feel needed, he said. Several relatives laughed. You know the type. They keep spreadsheets, ask too many questions, and make every favor feel like a federal investigation. More laughter. Lorraine covered her mouth, pretending embarrassment without stopping him. Seriously, Caleb continued, some people build their identity around rescuing everyone, then act exhausted when nobody asks them to play hero. Everyone looked at me. Not one person appeared shocked. They were waiting for my usual response. A tight smile, a soft joke, silence that restored the room. My phone vibrated beneath the table. The emergency account had attempted to cover a scheduled truck payment and failed. I looked at Caleb. Nobody asked me to rescue you? Relax, Amelia. It is a joke. Then I have good news. I opened the banking application. My hands were completely steady. You no longer need rescuing. I canceled every automatic payment connected to Caleb's household, froze transfers from the emergency account, and removed his access. His phone vibrated almost immediately. He glanced at it, refreshed the screen, and looked at me. What did you do? Lorraine leaned toward me. Amelia, fix this. I froze the account. Today? Caleb said. At Mom's birthday? You said nobody asked for help. Do not twist my words. Your mortgage, truck insurance, utilities, and daycare were scheduled through an account funded by me. A cousin stopped chewing. Jenna looked up sharply. The mortgage? She asked. Caleb ignored her. You do not get to humiliate me in front of everyone. You were comfortable humiliating me while I paid your bills. I never forced you. You sent 43 requests in 11 months. Because you told me to come to you if the kids needed something. The casino transfer was not for the kids. The room changed. Jenna placed her fork down. What casino transfer? Caleb's face tightened. Do not do this. You withdrew $3,500 last night. It was a temporary move. From the account covering your mortgage. I had a plan. Did the plan involve sports betting or blackjack? Lorraine whispered. Amelia, please. Not in front of the children. Mason and Lily were at a smaller table across the room with other cousins. They could not hear details. The children have been used to prevent this conversation for 5 years. Caleb stood. You think your little hospital job makes you better than everybody. My job teaches me to recognize when someone hides personal spending inside emergency expenses. There it is, the investigator. You love catching people. I loved believing you. My grandmother, Evelyn Hart, sat near the end of the table. She was 82, used a silver cane, and had remained quiet throughout dinner. Evelyn had been my father's mother. After Daniel died, Lorraine gradually reduced her involvement in our family, claiming visits upset everyone. I continued seeing her privately. She knew I helped Caleb, but not how much. Evelyn pushed back her chair and stood. "Caleb, sit down." He stared at her. "Grandma, this is not your business." Her cane struck the floor once. "My son's children are my business, especially when one is stealing from the other." Lorraine gasped. "Mother, do not use that word." Evelyn looked at her. "What word would make everyone more comfortable?" Caleb remained standing. "I did not steal anything." "Did you take money without permission?" I asked. "I was going to replace it." "That is not an answer." Evelyn turned toward me. "How much have you paid, Grandma?" Lorraine began. "Let her answer." I opened the folder on my phone. I had created it months earlier and named it Temporary Help because calling the transfers temporary made them easier to continue. In the past 2 years, direct payments and transfers total just over $68,000. Someone whispered my name. Jenna stared at Caleb. "68,000? That includes the preschool balance, 2 mortgage shortages, the truck transmission, insurance, utilities, credit card payments, and money he said was for repairs." "What repairs?" Jenna asked. "Last October, he requested $4,800 for roof damage." Her face changed. "The insurance company paid for the roof." "I did not know that." Caleb leaned across the table. "We used your money for other household expenses." "Which ones?" "I do not have receipts at Thanksgiving dinner." "You never had receipts." Lorraine began crying. "This is my birthday." I looked at her. "I paid the venue deposit." That silenced her. I did not plan this conversation. Caleb decided to mock me in the room my money helped rent. Jenna opened her banking app with shaking hands. "The mortgage company has been calling," she said. "Caleb told me Amelia was arranging a hardship payment." I shook my head. "I knew nothing about a hardship request." "He said you were using part of your inheritance to stabilize the house." Every face turned toward me. "My inheritance?" Caleb spoke quickly. "Dad would have helped us." Evelyn's voice cut across him. "Your father created that account for Amelia because he worried everyone would make her responsible after he died." My chest tightened. "He said that?" "More than once." Lorraine looked furious. "Daniel loved both children." "Of course he did," Evelyn replied. "Love did not require pretending they behaved the same." Caleb pointed at me. "She has money sitting there while my children could lose their home." "Your children could lose their home because you gambled mortgage money," Jenna said. Her voice was quieter than everyone else's and more dangerous. "How far behind are we?" Caleb looked away. "1 payment. The company told me 3. They are counting fees." "How much did you take from Amelia last month?" "Jenna, stop." "How much?" He said nothing. She looked at me. $2,200 for the mortgage," I answered. "Did it reach the lender?" Jenna checked her phone. "No." Lorraine covered her face. "I did not know." Evelyn looked at her. "You knew enough to tell Amelia not to discuss money with Jenna." My mother lowered her hands. "I was protecting their marriage." "You protected Caleb from his wife learning the truth." My phone buzzed. A message came from an unknown number. "Please do not mention my name, unless necessary. Caleb owes my husband $6,000. He said you were guaranteeing repayment after your father's trust released." I held the phone toward Caleb. "Did you borrow money using my name?" His expression answered before his mouth did. "It was a private loan." "You told them. I guaranteed it." I said family resources were available. "My resources are not family resources," Lorraine whispered. "Your father would not want you to let your brother fail." Evelyn looked at her. "Daniel specifically wanted Amelia protected from becoming the spare parent." My mother stared at the table. Caleb turned toward Grandma. "You always favored her." "No. I expected you to become an adult." He laughed bitterly. "So everybody attacks me now?" "The truth is not a group attack," I said. "It only feels coordinated because you lied to several people at once." Jenna removed her wedding ring. She did not throw it. She placed it beside her plate. The small sound of metal against china ended the argument more effectively than shouting. Caleb stared at it. "What are you doing?" "Taking the children to my sister's tonight." "Because Amelia created a scene?" "Because you used her name, hid mortgage notices, gambled household money, and lied to me. I was trying to fix things. You have spent years calling every new lie a repair." Lorraine stood and reached for Jenna's hand. "Do not make permanent decisions while emotional." Jenna stepped away. "You told me Caleb was improving." "I believed he was. Because Amelia kept paying." My mother had no answer. Caleb turned back toward me. "You planned this." "I planned to stop the transfers. You created the rest." "You are destroying my family." "No. I stopped financing the version that looked intact." One cousin quietly placed cash beneath his plate and left. Another followed. The photographer packed his camera without taking the cake pictures Lorraine had scheduled. Relatives began gathering coats, murmuring apologies to no one in particular. The celebration did not explode. It emptied. That was worse for my mother. She understood anger. She did not know how to manage people quietly withdrawing their participation. Caleb leaned close as I put on my coat. "You will regret this." "I regret waiting until you mocked me to believe my own records." Evelyn walked beside me toward the elevator. Behind us, Lorraine was crying near the untouched cake. I felt guilt immediately. That was the training. Even after every truth, some part of me believed my mother's sadness was proof I had done something wrong. Evelyn touched my arm. "Do not confuse consequences with cruelty." It was her birthday. She had every other day of the year to stop this. 3 days later, Lorraine called from Evelyn's phone because I had blocked hers. "Please attend one family counseling session," she said. Caleb agreed. "What does he want?" "He wants to repair things." "Does he want to repay anything?" Silence. "That is not the same question." "It is the first one." Evelyn took the phone. "Go once," she said. "Not to forgive. To say the truth in a room where someone cannot dismiss it as you being emotional." I agreed. The counselor was Dr. Renee Foster, a calm woman in her 50s with a quiet office near downtown St. Paul. Caleb arrived wearing a blue button-down shirt and the expression of a man presenting himself for unfair judgment. Lorraine sat beside him. Jenna sat across the room with no ring. Evelyn chose a chair near the window. "Dr. Foster asked what each person hoped to accomplish." Caleb went first. "I want my sister to stop punishing the family financially because she felt embarrassed." The sentence was so carefully designed that I almost admired it. He had transformed unauthorized withdrawals into family finances, accountability into punishment, and exposure into embarrassment. Lorraine added, "We all need to acknowledge mistakes on both sides." Dr. Foster looked at me. "Amelia?" I placed a binder on the table. Caleb's expression changed. "What is that?" "The part of this family everyone keeps calling emotion." I gave Dr. Foster a summary of payments, messages, duplicate requests, false claims made using my name, and the casino transfer. I kept it concise. No dramatic reading, no speech. Caleb interrupted several times. "That was already explained. She is leaving out context. The casino withdrawal was supposed to replace money." Dr. Foster held up one hand. "Caleb, let her finish." He stopped because an outsider had stated the boundary without apology. I explained that I would no longer provide money, guarantees, emergency accounts, or access to my father's trust. I also stated that Caleb could not use my name in future promises. Lorraine began crying. "He could lose the house." Jenna answered before I could. "We are already losing the house." Caleb turned toward her. "That is private. You made Amelia's trust public inside the family." Dr. Foster asked Caleb whether he had represented my money as available. I said my sister had helped before. "Did you say she guaranteed repayment?" "Not in those words." "What words did you use?" He shifted. "I said the family would make it right." "Did Amelia authorize that?" "Family should not need authorization for every conversation." I nearly laughed. Instead, I opened a screenshot from the lender. Caleb had submitted a hardship statement claiming confirmed support from a financially secure immediate family member. "Is this your signature?" I asked. Jenna leaned forward. "You filed that?" "I was trying to prevent foreclosure. By promising her money without asking, I knew she would help when she understood." "You did not tell me because you knew I might say no," I said. "That is not misunderstanding. That is strategy." Caleb stood. "This is therapy, not court," Dr. Foster responded calmly. "Then sit down and discuss why facts feel threatening." He sat. I outlined my boundaries. No financial support. No contact except in writing for 90 days. No use of my name, income, job, or inheritance in any personal or business request. No sending photographs of the children to trigger payment. Any attempt to involve relatives would extend the no-contact period. Caleb stared at me. "So I do not get a second chance?" "A second chance at what?" "At being your brother. You are still my brother. You are not still my dependent." "You enjoy this." "No, enjoying it would have allowed me to stop years earlier," Lorraine whispered. "Your father would be ashamed of how cold this sounds." Evelyn's cane struck the carpet. "Do not put words in my dead son's mouth to access his daughter's money." My mother looked at her. "I was trying to keep the family together." "You kept one child comfortable by keeping the other responsible, Doctor." Foster asked Lorraine why Caleb's emergencies consistently became Amelia's obligation. Mom began with familiar explanations. Caleb was emotional. He struggled after Dad's death. Jobs had been unstable. Jenna's income was modest. The children needed consistency. Dr. Foster listened, then asked, "What happened when Amelia struggled?" Lorraine looked confused. "She did not. I felt something break quietly inside me. I had panic attacks during graduate school," I said. "I worked 2 jobs. I spent 3 months eating cereal for dinner because I had lent you money for property taxes." Lorraine stared at me. "You never told me it was that bad. You said Caleb needed help more. You always managed. Because nobody came if I did not." My mother's tears changed. They became less theatrical and more frightened. "I thought calling you strong was encouraging. You called me strong whenever you needed permission not to help." Caleb rolled his eyes. "Now childhood is my fault too?" Jenna looked at him. "Not everything is about blame. Some things are about seeing the machine you benefited from." He glared at her. "You have been talking to Amelia. I have been talking to the mortgage company." That ended the session. Jenna moved with the children into her sister's house. She discovered Caleb had intercepted mail, deleted lender emails, and taken several loans she did not know existed. She did not call me for money. She called once to apologize. "I believed he had become financially responsible because the bills kept being paid," she said. "I did not ask who was paying them." "You were lied to." I also liked the lie because it made my marriage feel safer. Her honesty allowed me to respect her without taking responsibility for fixing her situation. Caleb attempted every old method during the first month. Rage. "You destroyed my marriage." Nostalgia. "Dad wanted us to stay close." Children. Mason asked why Aunt Amelia hates him. Illness. "Mom's blood pressure is dangerous because of stress." Urgency. "The truck will be repossessed tomorrow." Shame. "You have more money than one person needs." I did not respond. I saved every message. My mother left voicemails asking me to attend Sunday dinner, not because anything had changed, but because relatives had started asking why I was absent. She wanted the photograph restored before the relationship was repaired. I refused. On Thanksgiving weekend, she posted the cropped family picture from before dinner. My shoulder was barely visible. The caption read, "Families go through storms, but love remains." I commented once, "Love without accountability is only a caption." Then I blocked her account. Without my money, reality arrived quickly. Caleb's truck was repossessed because he missed payments. The townhouse entered a hardship sale. A former coworker demanded repayment. Jenna separated her finances and filed for divorce after discovering messages between Caleb and a woman he had told he was already single. The emergency account remained frozen. None of those consequences required my revenge. That was the lesson I had resisted for years. When you stop shielding a person from reality, reality does not ask for help finding them. Caleb took a warehouse job on the early shift. He hated it. He complained about lifting boxes, the cold loading dock, the supervisor, and the smell of cardboard dust. Evelyn said, "Honest work is not humiliation. Being unfamiliar with it is." He began sending small monthly repayments after Jenna's attorney required a full accounting of family debts. The first payment was $200. I did not thank him. I confirmed receipt. Gratitude would have turned basic responsibility into generosity. Lorraine attended individual counseling after Dr. Foster told her the family could not be restored, while her only goal was reducing Caleb's discomfort. For several weeks, Mom remained angry with me. Then she stopped calling. Evelyn said that was progress, because silence meant Lorraine was finally sitting with something instead of handing it to another person. 2 months later, my mother sent a letter. It contained no photographs, no requests, and no reference to what Dad would have wanted. "I made your competence available to everyone," she wrote. "I told myself I was honoring your strength. In truth, I was protecting myself from Caleb's anger because you were safer to disappoint. I knew you would continue loving me even when I failed you. I used that love as insurance. I am sorry." I cried on my apartment floor after reading it. Not because the apology healed everything. It did not. I cried because it was the first time Lorraine described what she had done without asking me to comfort her for recognizing it. I replied 3 days later, "Thank you for naming it. I am not ready for regular contact. Please continue counseling." She answered, "I will. No guilt, no urgency." That was the first brick of something new. The money my father left remained in my account. For years, I had treated it as a guilty secret because Caleb said I had been handed an unfair advantage. Evelyn finally gave me a sealed envelope Dad had left with her. Inside was a letter written shortly before his death. "Amelia," it began, "you will be told that being dependable means you owe people more. It does not. Dependability is a gift, not a family utility. Use this money to build a life, not to rescue everyone from the lives they refuse to build." I read the sentence until the paper blurred. Dad had seen the role forming before I understood it. He had tried to protect me. The living people around me had translated his protection into selfishness because access to my money made their lives easier. I used part of the account to start an independent compliance consultancy focused on helping small clinics, senior care facilities, and nonprofit health providers identify billing fraud before it destroyed them. I named the company North Lantern Compliance. A lantern does not remove darkness. It shows you what is already there. The office was small, 2 rooms above a bakery in Minneapolis, 1 conference table, 1 locked cabinet, and windows facing the light rail tracks. Evelyn attended the opening. Jenna came without Caleb and brought the children. Lorraine asked whether she was invited. I told her no. "I understand," she said. I believed she was beginning to. Caleb learned about the company through a cousin's social media post and called 19 times. I listened to one voicemail. "So you use Dad's money to build a business while my life collapses. You always wanted to win." I saved the message but did not respond. My success had not caused his collapse. My absence had revealed how much of his stability had been borrowed from me. 6 months after Thanksgiving, Dr. Foster invited us to one final joint session. I agreed because Caleb had maintained employment and made 4 repayments. Lorraine had continued counseling. Jenna attended by choice, not because anyone pressured her to reconcile. Caleb looked different. He wore his warehouse uniform because the session began immediately after work. He appeared tired and less polished. Without an audience rewarding his excuses, he no longer filled the room as easily. Dr. Foster asked what had changed. Caleb said he had lost his home, marriage, truck, and reputation because one family conflict became public. Jenna interrupted. "You lost those things because the conflict exposed debt, gambling, and lies." He looked angry, then stopped himself. Fine," he said. "Because of my choices." It was not graceful, but it was accurate. Lorraine admitted she had encouraged him to believe help would continue because confronting him felt unbearable. I made Amelia the person who paid for our peace, she said. There was no peace, I replied. Only delayed consequences. She nodded. Caleb looked at me. What do you want? Nothing from you. That cannot be true. I want you to continue repaying what you can. Stop using my name. And build a relationship with your children that does not require Jenna to lie for you. What about us? Us is not a debt you repay on schedule. Do you love me? The old question. The oldest hook. In our family, love had always been proven through access. Money, time, forgiveness, explanations, rescue. Yes, I said. I do not trust you. He looked wounded. How am I supposed to fix that? By accepting that you may behave correctly for a long time without receiving closeness as a reward. Then why try? Evelyn answered from the window. Because becoming decent is not a transaction. Caleb stared at his hands. For once, nobody rescued him from discomfort. The final turning point came nearly a year after the birthday dinner. Lorraine invited the family to a simple backyard cookout instead of renting an event space. She asked before including me. I agreed to attend for 1 hour. There were no matching outfits, no photographer, and no gratitude banner. Paper plates sat beside a grocery store cake. Jenna arrived separately with Mason and Lily. Caleb arrived late in his warehouse uniform, carrying a bag of hamburger buns and a receipt Lorraine had requested because she was no longer reimbursing vague expenses. He looked embarrassed when he handed it to her. She checked the amount, gave him exact cash, and returned the receipt. Nobody applauded. Nobody mocked him. Ordinary accountability is rarely dramatic. The children chased bubbles near the fence. Evelyn sat beneath an umbrella drinking iced tea. Lorraine served food without posting photographs. Caleb approached me while I was standing near the garden. The company looks good, he said. Thank you. I am not asking for a job. Good. A faint smile appeared and disappeared. I found a voicemail from Dad on one of Mom's old backup drives. My chest tightened. What did he say? He was talking about the education accounts. He told her not to make you the family's second parent after he died. Caleb looked toward the yard. He said I would need consequences more than money, and you would need permission to choose yourself. I pressed my lips together. Why are you telling me? Because I spent years saying Dad would have wanted you to help me. His voice cracked. I think he knew helping me too much would make me worse. I waited. The old version of me would have comforted him before he completed the apology. I let him continue. I hated that you had an account and a career and savings. I told myself you had escaped because Dad loved you more. The truth is, I kept burning every exit someone gave me. Then I blamed you for not building another one. Tears filled his eyes. I am sorry I made needing me impossible because using you was easier. The apology did not restore trust. It did not erase the casino withdrawals, the false promises, the mortgage lies, or the way he mocked me while depending on me. But it changed something. Not the past. The direction. Thank you for saying it, I replied. He waited, hoping for more. I did not give more than I meant. Do you think we will ever be close? He asked. I think closeness is built from what happens after the apology. What should I do? Keep working. Keep paying. Be honest when dishonesty would make you look better. Stop asking Mom to soften every consequence. Show up for your children without expecting Jenna to reward you. And with you? Start by respecting the distance. He nodded. Fair. He returned to the grill. Lorraine approached after he left. I used to think no one in a family should ever be left behind, she said. That sounds loving, I replied. It allowed Caleb to drag everyone backward. What do you think now? She watched Mason and Lily run through the yard. Maybe family means nobody is forced to drown just because another person refuses to swim. Evelyn raised her glass from across the patio. Took you long enough. We laughed. The laughter did not erase anything. Real healing is not erasure. It is remembering accurately, without needing the wound to control every future decision. My relationship with Lorraine remains limited. She asks before discussing money. She no longer sends photographs of the children when she wants something. She has never again used my father's memory to pressure me. Caleb continues repaying the debt in small amounts. Some months he sends more. Some months he calls to explain why he cannot. I do not negotiate excuses. Jenna finalized the divorce and built a stable life with the children. I help Mason and Lily directly on birthdays and school occasions, but I no longer pay expenses through Caleb. Love for children should not become a tunnel through which irresponsible adults crawl. North Lantern Compliance now employs 5 people. We have helped clinics recover money, stop dishonest vendors, and prevent small organizations from collapsing beneath fraud they were too embarrassed to admit. Every client reminds me that financial abuse survives through confusion, secrecy, and the fear of appearing disloyal. Those same forces kept my family system alive. The most important audit I ever completed was not a hospital account. It was the question I had avoided since my father died. What did my family actually give me, and what did they repeatedly take? Lorraine gave me food, traditions, education, and moments of genuine love. She also gave me responsibility for emotions and expenses that were not mine. Caleb gave me childhood laughter, nieces and nephews I adore, and occasional glimpses of the brother he might become. He also used my trust, name, money, and guilt. Both sets of facts are true. Boundaries do not require pretending a person was entirely bad. They require accepting that good memories do not cancel ongoing harm. I used to believe being needed proved I belonged. That belief cost me money, sleep, relationships, and years of resentment disguised as generosity. I paid because every emergency gave me a temporary place inside the family. For a few hours after transferring money, Lorraine called me wonderful. Caleb called me a lifesaver, and Jenna sounded relieved. Then the crisis passed, the gratitude faded, and I returned to being the cold sister who asked too many questions. I was not purchasing their survival. I was purchasing brief relief from the fear that they would stop loving me if I said no. The night I froze the account, I discovered that love requiring payment was never safety. It was a subscription I was too frightened to cancel. My revenge was not watching Caleb lose his truck or townhouse. It was not seeing relatives stop laughing at his jokes. It was not hearing Lorraine admit she had used my strength because it was safer than confronting his weakness. My revenge was becoming unavailable for misuse. It was opening an office funded by the inheritance they tried to shame me into surrendering. It was allowing my brother to feel disappointed without making his disappointment my emergency. It was learning that I could love Mason and Lily without financing their father's lies. It was leaving the untouched cake at my mother's birthday dinner and refusing to return simply because everyone disliked the silence after I left. If your family calls you strong only when they need you to endure more, that is not always praise. Sometimes it is an assignment. If they call you selfish only when you protect something they hope to use, examine the timing. If one person's stability requires your money, silence, exhaustion, and permanent guilt, you are not holding the family together. You are standing beneath a structure everyone else refuses to repair. Stepping away may cause it to shake. That does not mean you caused the damage. Sometimes the fastest way to discover what your sacrifices were supporting is to stop making them and watch what becomes visible. So tell me honestly, if your brother or sister had spent years using your name, money, and love, while the rest of the family helped hide it, would a sincere apology and slow repayment ever be enough to rebuild the relationship? Or would protecting your peace require loving them permanently from a distance?